All right, my dear hearts, let's look at someone that I have really come to appreciate, Earl Nightingale. So, Earl Nightingale, fascinating character. I don't know his whole bio, but he grew up with very few financial resources, like around Depression era. And his book that I have is called The Strangest Secret, which I think is more of a transcript of one of his radio broadcasts. So he put out a radio program like once a week, and he was someone who Bob Proctor loved and listened to like on repeat. And he knew Napoleon Hill, who wrote the Think and Grow Rich. So I think it was a little bit like Napoleon Hill was kind of like older than Earl Nightingale, and Earl Nightingale was a little older than Bob Proctor. So they were like, I think, interconnected in some way. At least they all like, Earl studied Napoleon and Bob Proctor studied Earl. So there's a lot on YouTube that you can find by Earl Nightingale. I find his voice to be a little comforting, and I really enjoy listening to him, primarily because he's really rooted in service, which I am too. So I am going to share with you what he calls his formula for success. I recommend you listen to The Strangest Secret. It's like 45 minutes long. It's all over YouTube. And again, you can get it as like a transcript, and it's like, 20 pages. It's nothing. And I got it for just a couple of bucks. But I think all of it might be check it out. It might just be like, what do they call that when somebody's it's so old that it's like public domain? Yeah. You can get it free, is what I'm saying. Okay. So my favorite quote maybe of any of these resources is given by Earl Nightingale. And it is a quote of William James, who I actually don't know who William James is, but maybe look it up. Okay. It says, the greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. So Earl Nightingale's kind of big thing is attitude, right? His slogan is, we become what we think about. Okay. So simple. Attitude is the thing that my all-time number one book recommendation of Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, says attitude is everything, right? If you can't change the circumstance, change yourself, change your attitude, right? So attitude is an incredibly empowering aspect of reality, because there is no one else who can affect your attitude. It is 100% squarely yours. Okay. No one can change your attitude. Only you can change your attitude. If a kid is cranky and upset, there's no amount of cupcakes that can change that kid's attitude, right? Our attitude is ours alone. And what's so powerful is that your attitude can make anything wonderful. So let's say that I don't know, someone shoves me down and steals my wallet. Okay. In that moment, if I if I understand that my perspective is everything, then I can go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad they took my wallet and not my life. Right. That can put you into a state of grace and gratitude immediately. If I am, let's say, one of the things that would make me the most sad is if my kiddo was gonna pass away. Okay. So I may be at that moment and in grief and heartbreak, right? I would never be celebrating that, but I'd be grief and heartbreak. And that grief and heartbreak would give me the opportunity to say, I am so grateful. I'm so grateful that I was given the opportunity to feel such a depth of love and human connection with this other being that I could now be experiencing this level of heartache, because this shows me how real and deep and intimately connected I was with this other human, right? And so I would be able to savor the depth of that grief because it demonstrates the depth of the love. And if you think this is just me just talking about something that I haven't really explored, you are welcome to think what you want to think. But what I'm saying is these are things that I have really, really spent time with. I have really spent time with understanding that my child is going to die, understanding that I don't have control over my child's life, because I have had experienced a lot of powerlessness in my parenting. So this is not a glib example, okay? All right, so attitude. That's sort of like the one word for Earl Nightingale is attitude, and I just think it's fabulous. By the way, doing a exercise, I think I'm going to do it later in module maybe 11 or 12. But anyways, doing an exercise around what's your one word going to be, what you want people to be like, oh yeah, their one word would be blah, blah, blah. Earl Nightingale, attitude. Me, innocence, okay? When you talk about me, talk about that. All right. So back to it. This part that I want to share is Earl Nightingale's formula for success. It's all over YouTube. It is from one of his radio broadcasts. Okay. I think all three of them are fabulous. Attitude is one of them. So it's the last one. I'll give you the other two. Okay. First one. This is one of my all-time favorites too. Our rewards in life will always be in exact proportion to our contribution to our service. Okay. So how much service you're offering is how much you're going to receive in terms of the abundance that you receive, right? So it is always in direct proportion. What you offer the world is what you receive back. And this ties in with the mirror principle, okay? If I'm offering something, so it also has to do with like how I am offering that. If I'm like, okay, I have this much juice left and there's someone in front of me who's really thirsty, but I'm really thirsty and I don't really want to give them that much because I want most of it for me, I'm going to be like, you can have one sip. And that one sip is not going to be very restorative to that person because I'm giving it with a spirit of fear and scarcity, right? And if I'm like, drink all that you want and there's one sip left, that person is going to feel my abundance and my generosity, right? Okay. So our rewards in life will always be in exact proportion to our contribution. Now, if you're anything like I was, you're going to say, I have nothing to contribute, right? There were so many times in my life where my bank account was empty and I was exhausted and I felt like I didn't have anything to share. I have no resources. I have to only be in a receptive mode, right? And there's sort of three frequencies. I forget who I learned this from, but there's the taking frequency, and then there's the giving to get frequency. And then there's the abundance where it's like a creation, right? It's just the flowing water, and it's just the water becomes the cloud and the cloud becomes the rain and the water becomes the cloud and the rain becomes the water and blah, 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 blah. It's nobody's taking, nobody's giving. It's just flowing. So if you are in that position, like, I don't have anything to give. And if you're doing a job that you don't feel like is your passion or whatever, and you're kind of giving to it resentfully, right? So that's how I was when I was working at the public schools. Was I was like, this doesn't align with my values. I don't get to do what I want with the kids. I don't really believe in my work. I feel pinched in every way. And I'm going to do only the minimum because I don't want to give them anything, right? So I was not receiving much either and the receiving is both material resources and like psychological, emotional resources, right? So I forget to breathe sometimes when I'm doing these because I get so excited. So if you are a person who's like, I have nothing to give and I can't give anything at my work because I'm just like so cranky about it, okay, go back to attitude and forgiveness and showing up as your best self, right? So think about like, who do I want to be and what do I want to offer? So your frequency is just, it's going to affect so much, right? So it all does come back to attitude. But again, let's say I'm in this job I don't resonate with. I am moving through the day and I'm doing things that I don't love. What can I contribute? Do you have a smile to offer one of your coworkers who's also feeling kind of beat down by this? Do you have the ability to make a batch of muffins and bring them into the like workroom or whatever? Do you have the capacity to offer a hand to someone when they're up against a deadline? Hey, can I help you with that report or whatever? Do you have the ability to find out when your coworkers' birthdays are and make sure to write them a card, right? So it doesn't have to be expensive things that you're contributing. It can be just these little gestures of kindness. It can also be, what frequency are you offering people in your day to day? So I could show up for work with a like, this is so cranky and hard and I don't like it. Or I could bring a frequency of love. And every time I interact with someone that I'm working with, even if it's with a supervisor who's really unkind, I can be silently in my heart sending them restorative love and the belief that they're innocent and worthy, right? So we always have the capacity to offer more. And um, on top of this, there's also like, what do you enjoy? What makes you happy, right? So back, I don't know when, a year and a half ago, when I was like, I'm never going to find my passion. I'm never going to get out of speech pathology. I'm always going to work in schools. I can't figure it out. I'm giving up, right? I realized that I really loved sewing in a straight line. So I learned about this idea called slow stitching. And I started learning about it and I made a YouTube channel and it just was like terrible lighting, terrible audio, terrible like the camera was always wobbling and my sewing wasn't even like in the screen most of the time, and I would sit there, I would video myself sewing, and I would chit chat like I was like sitting with a friend sewing. Okay, I offered this to the world thinking no one was ever going to watch it, but I just thought I want to share this because it makes me happy. Okay, I did not think I would make any monies from it because it was so like, I mean, you could go check it out. It's funny. I enjoyed myself so much. And I ended up making all of these connections with all of these people who also love sewing. It now has, last time I randomly checked it, it had like 25,000 views. Okay. It also improved my personal frequency on an interpersonal level. It helped me feel better about getting up out of bed in the morning. It kept me going through work days where I wasn't super connected to my work because I'd be like brainstorming and thinking about projects and imagining the videos I was going to make. I'm serious. It brought so much psychological rewards to my life. I mean, I don't think I had before then ever woken up in the morning excited about something, but I would get out of bed early to do these videos because I was so jazzed about these inspired ideas about sewing. Right? So when I was offering that frequency of inspired creativity and joy about sharing and sincere, just sharing about the things that were going on in my life, people received that as, that was of great value to people. And so I received that psychological reward exact proportion to my contribution. So you can always contribute, and it does not have to cost any money or be difficult. And really, contribution in this sense is that genuine, inspired overflow of that divine inspiration. It's not like, okay, I am going to give you this because I want to get as much money as possible from it, right? It's no obligation or what's that? Transaction-ish. No transaction in it, just the flowing. Okay. All right. Number one, talked a long time about that, but apparently I have a lot of feelings about it. Number two, the gold mine is between your ears. Ideas and imagination are where creation begins. So, okay, ideas. This is where the daydreaming and imagination and visioning comes in. And we talk about that in module I think it's in module, am I not saying this? Oh, next module, 8, identity shifting, storytelling, mirror principle visualization. This is like the pre-membering, the imagination, the visioning, right? So your imagination is the most, the gold mine is what he calls it, because one idea could make you, create a booming business, right? Henry Ford had an idea about an engine. He didn't start until he was 45, and he had this idea and everybody thought he was crazy, but he went for it and he ended up having this, he started the whole car thing. The Wright brothers, who did the airplanes, they had this idea, this dream, this imagination about flying, and they just kept trying and they got it. So we could have 20,000 ideas a day. And the more that you tap in with creativity, and rest and taking care of your nervous system, and then, you go through my little cycle. I've got to make a visual of this, that we get, chronic stress, and then we learn about our nervous system, and then we finally rest, and then we get a little bored, and then magically, once we're rested and bored, we get this inspiration. And I'll tell you what, since I got myself through that, cycle, and I got finally to the rested and the bored, that inspiration has not stopped. It only stopped for a week when, excuse me, when I had COVID. And then I was like, it's gone, because I missed it so much. I love feeling inspired. I have ideas nonstop. I think it is too, because I think inspiration is like part of that mirror principle. It's like always waiting for us to show up as this like connected, genuine, honest, rested, responsive being. And then it's like, we have 14,000 ideas for you right now. I have not stopped having ideas except for when I had COVID. And when I had COVID and there were no ideas, I was like, maybe it's gone and maybe it's never coming back. And then thank goodness, about 10 days into it, I was like, oh, my ideas are back. So yeah, the offering by Earl Nightingale for number 2 is to sit down every morning and write down at least 5 ideas. And I forget what the math was, but it was like, that's going to be 1,000 ideas a year or something like that. And all you need is one idea to have a whole business, right? So out of all those 1,000 ideas a year, you're definitely going to come across something that's going to give you something to contribute. So that's a fun one. I love the pre-membering, so the writing about the future as if it already happened. I'm so grateful now, and I'll go over that, like I said, in the next module. So check that out. Okay. Last one, we already touched on attitude. Human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. We become what we think about. So your total environment is a reflection of you as a person, right? So mirror principle is embedded in this. And what does the mirror or the universe reflect? Primarily your attitude or your mindset. Okay. So whatever you're experiencing now is just a result of your mindset a little bit back. And whatever your mindset is right now is creating, or is like the remote control that's going, okay, I want channel 22, and then you're just going to get channel 22, right? It's just a feedback loop. I love this. This is actually a Bob Proctor quote, but it ties in nicely. I'm just going to wrap us up with it. Success is 5% strategy, 95% mindset. After reading all of these books, this is basically what they're all saying. They're all saying that your wealth is in direct relationship with your service, and your results are almost entirely based on your attitude. Okay, so check out Earl Nightingale, lots and lots and lots on YouTube, and see what you think. Okay, love ya.